You want to see treat? You want a treat? She really love it. Please? How about barbecue? Here we go. Here. Three will be under, okay?
Maybe.
Hey there.
Hey, hopefully I got on. I can't
You
believe
got
this.
on.
Really
How you doing, sir?
good, good. How are you?
Doing good. It's just day 700 of being inside, it feels like. How about
Yeah,
yourself?
that's good. That's good. How's the kids? How's everyone doing?
Good. It's the same for them. We actually planned a little car trip, like a road trip. Next week we're gonna rent a little car and just drive around.
Nice.
Yeah, just give us something to do outside the house, really, honestly.
Oh,
But
nice.
I've been trying to better myself here and there with schooling for myself and things like that.
Now, are you doing the college or what's it called? App, oh my gosh.
EFAU one?
Yeah. No. Our oh my God. What's the name of our college? Aspire.
I'm not. No, I got started with that, and I was like almost all the way done with the process, and then I got the manager gig, and everything changes
Uh,
when you're manager, as you know. Like you have to have it applicable to your career, and you go through a totally different process.
yeah.
I kind of wish they would like figure that out for us, but that's okay.
Yeah.
and then
I
and then
will.
when
Yeah.
when I lost my spot, I only had a week to join. So it's like,
Yeah. I
oh.
know. I know right now would be a perfect time for you to take class and you could really concentrate on that.
Well, what I'm doing is I bought two different programming books off of Amazon.
Hmm.
Like they're like how to program basic stuff, and I'm trying to learn to program because I've always wanted to do it. I've always wanted to learn my whole life. So
What do you mean, like computer stuff?
yeah, computer programming. My dad
Oh,
actually was a computer programmer, and my aunt is, and they both been encouraging me to do it all my life. So I finally have started, and it's actually a lot of fun.
well, that's what my wife did in a part of her career. She's a computer. She went to UCI. She's computer science.
Very cool. Yeah, no,
And
that is good money. Always work.
yeah, she did that for God for years, and then she became a leader, then a director. But yeah, she it's funny because one of her bosses just said, "Hey, do you ever Cobalt? I guess it's a programming language."
Oh yeah, yeah. Mhm.
Anyways, I guess the government, that's the only program they have, and I guess they're dying for people to
Yeah.
go and help. Yeah,
There's lots of little one-off things like that where people are like, I only use, this particular program, and none of us know how to get back into our files now, and you have to do it. And so yeah, no, but it's good work. I'm not really looking to get into it. I just kind of want to know how to do it, honestly.
oh no, and I think it's a good deal. I mean, there's a lot of really good. It once you kind of learn the language, it's like learning another language actually. But then how you translate that, and we were talking about the other day, how you translate that to what your client's needs are, and then you got to
Yeah.
create it. Well, that's good. But everything else is good though.
It is good. Yeah, no, we've just been just trying to find things to do that aren't gonna, make us all die from being inside of
Uh,
an apartment.
I know we have to. I know I'm the one that goes out and does the shopping,
Mhm.
and I still need just a couple of things that I need to go get, but I'm just waiting, and I usually wait to get at least more than 3 or 4 things, and then I just go get them all at once, and then come back. But yeah, but I've been riding my bike.
Oh,
Um,
that's good. Yeah, I know. I've been working out. You
yeah,
too?
yeah, and I've been doing that, which is good. So yeah, so
Jessica, have you been working out?
yeah, I
No.
just try to. Yeah.
My friend is doing 10-minute workouts and he sent it to me and I'm like, I could do 10 minutes. Have I yet? No.
There's a 7-minute workout app
Yeah.
that I've been using.
Oh,
There's
okay.
like 7 minutes I can commit to.
There you go.
Yes, it is hard. Hi there. How are you?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Good, good.
Enjoying some sunshine?
Yeah, it's so beautiful outside. It really is. The breeze is nice, and I tell you, if we didn't have this backyard, it would be hell to be inside. I can't even imagine. As soon as I get up, I just go outside. I mean,
I'm
you
very grateful that we got some horses right outside.
that's nice. Very nice.
Do you ride them around?
Yeah, my mom's actually a horse trainer, so I moved
Oh,
back
very
in with
cool.
her, and there's 12 horses on property, so we ride and take care of them.
Nice. God, that was my, when my wife and her sister were growing up there, the youngest of 5, she said they didn't have any dolls or any kind of Barbies. They had horses. I go, what? And then when her mom came out the garage, we would get big boxes mailed to us. Like, what the hell is this? And they're like horses, like, standing, galloping.
Yeah.
They're made out of that hard plastic.
Mhm.
She said,
Fire horses.
that's what we used to do. We used to play, name them.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, but they dreamt of having a horse, but they never did. But they had it, I guess, in their
Yeah. I mean, I had fire horses too. It's fun.
Yeah, nice. Was that Anna that I saw? Hey there, sweetie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. How's the family doing?
Good. My sister is working or not working. She's going to school still online, and then my mom is working from home.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's good.
How are you?
Good. Trying to stay busy. I rode my bike from our house to the beach, which was a big thing.
Yeah.
So that was a nice thing. So I'll do it again and ride the bike more.
Nice.
Yeah.
My
Cooking
boyfriend and I are. I'm sorry.
Just cooking a lot.
I just heard from Tony today, so maybe you can get on his ride next week or next year or whatever it is.
No, is he riding?
Yeah, well, he still is. Yeah.
I need to get in touch with him. He's like the worst on getting.
No, yeah, I emailed him 3 months ago. I remember I worked directly for him, and he emailed me back today.
No, that's what I know. It's hard. You know what? I find out where the practice rides are, but I don't think we're going to have that 100-mile charity this year.
Because it was like October, right, or September?
Like September, October.
Yeah. So
Well,
who knows if we'll be even back to work by then. Let alone
yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you could ride as long as you don't. I mean, I don't. That'll be interesting.
Isn't that what Tamara was talking about? How the rides were all canceled and she follows all the bike riders. She was talking about that last week.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, I know they do a lot of the. Well, I know Disney. I did a couple of years ago. I did the charity. It's a 100-mile ride from like here all the way to San Diego. It's over two days. And that was quite interesting. I've never really ridden a bike, so I started to train. I bought a bike, the bike where the seat is not a real seat.
Yes.
And the bike where you have to clip in your shoes so that if you just crash. It's not like your Schwinn bike or your cruiser. So I did that, and that was it was fun though. It was a good experience. So, but
I still can't ride a bike. Every time I ride a bike, I hurt myself. So I've given up.
What?
I can ride a horse? That's fine. But I cannot ride a bike.
I'll let you borrow mine.
It's okay.
Yeah, you're like, no, I'm fine.
Did you know she has horses? Like in her backyard.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I didn't know that until today. So
I didn't know.
Yeah. That's part of why I moved, was A, to save money, and B, help my mom, because she's always wanted to have her horses on her property. So she's finally been able to do that. And so it's good that I'm able to be home and help and see my horse more.
Nice.
Now, do you have
you did say you had a horse. Yeah. Okay, I remember.
You have to
Holiday shop conversations.
You have to get up early and brush the horse and clean out the.
I don't do that part.
That might you have to put the mom on the phone, and we'll have to tell her. I'll convince you.
No, it's okay.
Nice.
I get up like 10-ish, and then I can go help when it cools off. It's fine.
Nice. I know I told my wife, I don't think, I think I 5S every drawer and cabinet. I still have a lot more to do though.
That's me. I've cleaned my closet out twice already.
That's good.
No, I'm so done with it.
I just have to drive the cars around just to keep them kind of going. So I'll drive it around, kind of around the neighborhood, and then go put gas, check the tires, check their oil, and then that's my big highlight. Oh no, actually my big highlight is deciding what should I make. So that's been kind of interesting. It's fun though, to just cook and not have any stress about time or anything like that.
Yeah, I do those like dinner boxes. I did it when I lived on my own, where they give you all the ingredients and then you get to cook meals. So I've kept that up and it's been pretty fun. Like we are doing it now every week, and so we get 3 meals a week to cook, and it's been a lot of fun.
Nice. That's nice. Yeah, it just reminds me I got to go get some cream cheese. I'm gonna make a carrot cake from scratch.
Oh, nice.
So you know what? I'll probably videotape it and I'll send it to you guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it comes out, it'll be interesting.
I never made carrot cake, but I've made lots of apple pies in my time.
Nice. Did you use fresh apples?
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna have to show that. You're gonna have to show.
I haven't done it in so long.
Nice. I showed my daughter the other day how to make a pineapple upside down cake. So, she did a good job.
That's so fun.
Which is good.
I think that is the good thing with all this, is we all have more time to spend with people and cleaning and doing all those things we've been wanting to do forever and just haven't had the time.
Yeah,
those things were on the to-do list forever.
Yeah. Oh wow,
that looks so good.
That's awesome.
Like it came out better than mine.
Hey, Lee.
Micah.
Hi.
Where is she? Hi.
Hi.
I can't see. It's on my phone, so I can only see like 4 people at once, or 3.
You can swipe it over, no?
If I swipe it, it's only to whoever's talking at one time, and then I have to swipe through to see everyone's face.
Yeah, I like the computer because you can see everyone at once.
Yeah.
I wish. I know I'm on my phone. The 2 computers are being used because they're both working from home. Here's what my daughter and my wife did the other day. I'm not sure. You ladies are too young to understand, but they started to she got something in the mail and she started to dye her hair.
That's so fun.
That's cool.
So my daughter's trying to learn how to put on that color.
Hey, Judy.
Hi. Is your hair green yet? No.
Hey.
So what I bought is the company station in New York. So they had to send all their shipping equipment or all their shipping stuff to New Jersey. So I'm waiting for it to come from New Jersey. Soon though.
Hey there, Judy.
Hi.
Trying to figure out how to get more people on the screen. I'm on the phone though. So many people.
It's better on a laptop.
I know. Well, they're being used. But everyone else is doing well. You're all eating well, exercising, doing all that good stuff.
Not exactly.
Trying.
Telling you guys, 7-minute workout on the app. Anybody can commit to 7 minutes, okay?
I don't know, 10 minutes was hard to commit to, so I don't know if I could even do 7.
Well, we got a jump rope in the mail. Kind of scary.
I used to love jump roping when I was younger.
You know, boxers, I'm telling you, they're amazing. I can't believe how often they jump rope. And all the footwork.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Good morning. Oh, my gosh. It's so good to see you all. I'm sitting outside.
How's everyone?
Good, you?
Good.
Douglas, you there too?
Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Doug.
Oh my
Hey.
God, Pascal. Hey, Doug.
How's it going?
Let's go.
How are you feeling? Are you better?
Oh yeah, I'm better.
Good.
I'm doing great.
Good.
Just want to
Well,
go
guys,
back to work.
I hear you. They opened Huntington Beach yesterday. So I don't know if they're like trying a little bit at a time, you know, and seeing if people will behave themselves so that we could all go back to work sooner than later. Fingers
Look,
crossed.
If somebody wants to be a social experiment, I say let them, and we'll see what happens.
Totally.
yeah, they're all the crazies. Unfortunately, they're not from Huntington Beach. They're from everywhere else.
Judy, your hair's not green yet.
No, I was just telling them that the hair dye I buy is like a small mom and pop shop in New York. So they had to make adjustments since it's not safe to be doing business out of New York. So they're going to ship it from New Jersey.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's been in New Jersey. I've been looking at the tracking number. It's still in New Jersey. So hopefully
Seriously?
I,
this week, hopefully.
I have an Amazon order right now that had there was 3 parts to it. One came in today. One of them are coming in June, and the last part comes in July 21st.
Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
Hope it's not anything you need.
Sounds about right for Amazon.
Are they 3 pieces that have to go together? Are they 3 different things?
They are 3. So for Jackie, I sent it. I told her that she's just gonna randomly get surprises. They're all graduation themed.
Ah.
I've been getting her a mug forever, so like that's our tradition. So her mug won't come in until for like the other month. Today she got all the places you'll go. And the very last one is graduating class of 2020 in July. So it kind of works out.
All the places you'll go after quarantine.
Yeah. I told her right now we're in the waiting place.
It's called no man's land, right? Oh. Jeanette, I can see your entire face.
Yeah, not just your forehead.
She's gonna adjust the camera now.
I don't think she could hear us before.
I hear birds. That must be Judy's house.
No, I'm inside.
Are
No.
you?
Yeah. I traveled far away from one end of the table to the other.
All right, guys, we gave everybody a good 5 minutes. That's time enough, I think, right?
We're to get down to serious business.
Let's do it. We got stuff. I'm not gonna
We
read
got
all
stuff.
too much, but I'm gonna meet you guys and we'll do it one at a time. All right. So we talked about 5 and 6 this week. I thought it was interesting because he traveled to Shanghai to investigate a Disney in mainland China. That'll never work. ABC was having some of the hits become somewhat stale. And Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was their savior, but it was not enough. So they did the big 2000 party, and that was sort of the exit of Rune from the story. He passed on 2 years later, but he did go to go visit him one last time and kind of have that closure with him, which was nice. It was while he was in the hospital. Eisner was feeling a lot of pressure, and he needed a second. Iger was told that he would not be the number 2, and he wasn't unpromotable by another friend, but he was then asked to move to LA for promotion number 2. So it was very confusing for him whether or not he was going to be the number 2. Chapter 6, Eisner was showing him the ropes about the hotels, parks, Imagineering technology, was walking him around, talking to him about some of the things in the park, showing him all the things that are important for Disney. They could feel that traditional media was dying and that they were trying to operate out of fear and not innovate. And so then that's where Iger wanted to step in and start innovating rather than operating out of fear. Pixar and Disney had their 5-film production deal, which were not for the sequels. And so that became a problem, whether they could be together or not. There was the 1-day closure for September 11th. That's a big deal, as we all know. It was a 25% hit of their business right after 9/11. Hopefully something that isn't similar for our situation right now. Roy Disney was talking about the call for the removal of Eisner. Eisner was trying to remove Roy from the board. It was a big fight that was very distracting for the entire company. And then the shareholder vote of no confidence was 43% against him, and his chairman title was stripped from him. Michael announced he would step down as the choice to replace, and he would choose the person to replace him. So the biggest lesson I took from this chapter was versatility, making sure you're not riding on your success because everybody's looking over your shoulder and wants a piece. So just make sure that you're continuing to innovate and not thinking, oh, I have my big success of millionaire and I can just continue to be playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire over and over. Being positive is a necessary part of our business, and not blind faith, but being positive and setting an agenda that is forward-looking and trying to better your situation. So I thought that was pretty cool to think about being positive, but not just being positive for no reason, actually having a reason to do it. One of the quotes I liked was, as a leader, you can't communicate that pessimism to people around you. So you can maybe have it, but you can't communicate it. And that's one of the things that was a parallel with my journey. I can tend to feel pessimism, but I've got to learn to not communicate or put that off to other people. All right, I'd like to start with Ted.
I know we're going 5 and 4, but I thought I found this really interesting about the $1 billion or the billion shares that Ovitz got, and how that kind of started this whole Michael piece. But I know there's some things in there that I thought was pretty interesting, and the hard questions we need to ask ourselves as leaders. We want to make sure that we don't get blinded by our own needs. And we have to tell ourselves, we have to ask ourselves those hard questions. What is the problem? And how do I solve it? The solution, does the solution make sense? Am I doubting the solution? Why? And then, of course, am I gonna do this for sound reasons or my personal reasons? And I think this is where it was a big thing to me when Bob realized this when Michael got Ovitz to join the company. And I think they both knew it wasn't going to work, but they did it anyways, but they did it because of their egos. And what's so cool about Bob, he sees this all coming down, he sees it playing in the act. And the huge issue there is, unfortunately, we lost a lot of money. There was no way that Ovitz was ever going to be successful. It wasn't his fault. He just was the wrong person for the wrong career within our company. He just couldn't fit into it. Bob knew it, but Michael knew it, but he didn't want to acknowledge it. He was so fearful of someone going to take his job. So that was huge. I think the other thing that some of the parallels that I actually saw within my leadership, or things that I thought was really kind of cool in chapter 5, was when we talk about how we manage one's obsession or the ambition, where Michael would keep everything to himself, where he was so afraid of Bob trying to take over his job that he lost focus. And instead of using Bob in the very beginning as someone to kind of help him through all those hard times, he kept them at a distance. He only shared different things that he wanted him to know about. And it was hard for Bob to understand, to read them. You know, first he says, hey, you know, you're not gonna, you know, be my number two. No, you're not gonna take over my job. And then invites him over and says, hey, do you guys want to move over to California now? And he's like, what's going on? So the big thing there is just making sure as leaders that we stay focused, and that we understand what our balance is. We want to make sure that we don't become impatient. And I wrote something here, but I can't even read my own writing. But it's the thing here where I was impressed with Bob is that he sees this all, and he sees it coming down the pike. The last thing that I thought was really kind of cool was it was kind of, you know, it's kind of sad, you know, he had, you know, Ruin, you know, it's too bad that we don't know who he is because it's so much kind of he taught him. But you know, when Bob was trying to figure out, hey, what can we do big? You know, we're hanging on our lifeline here, and Bob came up with the idea of doing that 24-hour Millennium whole piece. And when he announced it, you know, Ruin kind of said, there's just no way it's going to work. Then he figured out, which is part of us as leaders, that Ruin, the reason why he had that long face was it used to be flipped, where Ruin would give those directions. And then he would, and then someone like Michael would say, okay, how hard do you want me to jump? I'll get there. But now it flipped. So now Michael has to decide, how am I going to get him to take on this role? And then he's talking about how, you know, he could just command it and say, hey, you just got to do it. Just do it and walk away. Or he has to understand who his people are. And obviously he knew Ruin. He knew that what he could do. He had built a relationship with him. He played kind of with his pride a little bit. He knew that if he didn't back down and made it into a challenge, that Ruin would exceed everyone's expectations, and that's what he did. He also knew that Ruin could have sabotaged them and said, okay, let's do it. But it all depends, and I say this all the time, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And that's where Michael comes in and builds those relationships and figures out how can we make this happen so that we could be successful. During that success, not only was it a success, it really kind of brought ABC and Disney into one whole team. But then he remembers when he got that call, and this was the whole sad part. You know, he just turned 70 and he was dying of cancer. And when Ruin called, and he knew something was wrong, but when Ruin called, he had said, hey, are you watching that USC Notre Dame game? And then he's like, yeah. But then he kind of like thinking, Bob's like, well, wait, something's off. You know, he must be a little bit off, or maybe he's hallucinating or so. But, you know, Bob still listened to him as if he probably didn't remember that, you know, Bob was in charge, but he listened to them and he said, hey, you know, the sound's off. The voice is not, you know, going through. And so he graciously said, well, let me look into it, which Bob didn't have to do, but Bob did. He called everyone and made sure everything was right. And he called him back and said, Ruin, I just checked with Central and I made sure that everything, and there's nothing wrong. So thank you. And then of course that ending went, he went to go see him and he ended up dying. But that was a huge piece, I thought. And that's where I really appreciate kind of where Bob sees these things and he takes it a step further. And I think that's what we're all about as a team, that not only do we know about issues and problems, but we take a step back and we say, how can we make that person be successful? And how can we make him succeed? But at the same time, making sure not only do we learn, but they also learn, and that everyone is successful. So anyways, that was my part.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that idea of that follow through can be so important to a leader. I like that a lot. Jessica, not only do we need the sign of the week, but also your review as well.
Okay. So just a quick reminder, we've learned help, restroom or bathroom, and where. So today, a lot of you guys may have seen the sign before and maybe know what it means, but I kind of wanted to go over how it became the sign that it is. So the sign for I love you, it's your pinky, your index finger, and your thumb. A lot of this is kind of in popular culture. We see it a lot, and it's kind of how deaf people will say goodbye to a lot of people. It doesn't necessarily mean romantic love. It can be friendship love or just like, bye, love you sort of thing. But the cool thing is if you know the sign language alphabet, this is the letter for I. It's your pinky finger up. The sign for L is your thumb out and your pointer finger up. And the sign for Y is your thumb and your pinky out. So if you put those together, you get I love you. So that's kind of a fun way to remember that. And now maybe you have a little bit more knowledge about a sign that you've seen around and what it means for the deaf community. So for chapter 5, one of the big things, parallels that I saw was this concept of learning as much as you can about all aspects of the company. I'm one of those people that really loves trying to learn as much as I possibly can. In undergrad, I had 3 majors because I just couldn't decide. I just wanted to learn everything that I possibly could. And I'm trying to take that opportunity within the company as well to learn as much as possible, be trained in as many things as possible, and just kind of learn different aspects because I find it so interesting in how all of the different areas of our company play into each other. And there's so many things out there that we don't even realize is a job. And watching all of these documentaries on Disney Plus and just learning all these different little tiny aspects of the company that gets done, but you don't necessarily know how or why. I find that really fascinating. And it's kind of a parallel of my career is I like to learn as much as humanly possible in as much time as I have able to me. And on that chapter as well, he talked about doing the job you have well and being patient to look for opportunities to pitch in and expand to grow and make yourself one of the people through attitude and energy and focus that your bosses feel they have to turn to when an opportunity arises. I feel like as a leader and being on the lead team, a lot of us have that same energy and passion. And so that quote really kind of stuck out to me of being patient and looking for opportunities and really taking the time to grow. And this time that we have now is a good time to grow and try and better ourselves so we can improve in the future. And for chapter 6, I really liked as Patrick said, the idea of steering away from pessimism. And this quote really stuck out to me. As a leader, you can't communicate that pessimism to the people around you. It's ruinous to morale. It saps energy and inspiration. Decisions get made from a protective and defensive posture. That really kind of stuck out to me. As Patrick said, sometimes we do have that pessimism and we have to work to not show it to other people. A lot of people look up to either people that they see a connection to or the leaders. And if you are always constantly talking about how the sky is falling, they're going to believe that the sky is falling too. And he mentioned how that was one of the big things with Eisner towards the end was that idea of pessimism really permeated the company. And especially in this trying time, it's important to try and keep that positivity, even though it's easy to feel like the sky is falling and we're never going to get to go back to work. So trying to keep that positivity is, it's really important. And so those were kind of 2 key things that stuck out to me in these chapters.
Yeah, I absolutely love the do the job well. That's great. I mean, all of us. Haley, it's your turn next.
All right, so kind of to piggyback off of what Jesse was saying, the thing that stood out to me in the 6th chapter was when he talked about optimism, and optimism sets a different machine in motion, especially in difficult moments. The people you lead need to feel confident in your ability to focus on what matters and not to operate from a place of defensiveness and self-preservation. And I kind of paralleled that to like what's going on right now and the need for positivity and optimism. It was also interesting reading those 2 chapters and hearing about like the early 2000s of like Disney and the company, because I was like 5 at the time. So I didn't really think about you know, what was going on at that time compared to like now. So, yeah.
Yeah, I was like 5 too.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't. I'm old. We'll go with Vanessa D or Nessa next.
Thing written down. I had the same quote as Haley. The optimism sets a different machine in motion. Just seeing how Eisner worked compared to Tom and Dan, it just set a different mood. The progress that they made just came to a halt, and it was pretty sad to just watch that happen. And they did go through a lot with the company and the merging and everything. So it just seeing that would have made probably a difference in how everything else fell back in the future. It was crazy to see that for me. And I think the lesson that I got from that was that same thing, that, you know, optimism does set the mood, like what Jesse was saying. It sets the mood for not only you, but for us, it's our cast members, it's other leaders, it's everything. And you don't know whatever you say, how it can affect somebody else and their mood and their attitude. And yeah, that's all I got.
Thank you for that. I keep hearing optimism, so either we're in desperate need of it, which is possible, or that's just a really good part of the book for us to hear. On that note, I'll send it over to Teresa so she can give us some optimism.
Hey, everybody. Sorry, I had to go get my charger. My phone is dying. A couple things came to mind when I was reading these 2 chapters. And the first thing is I admire Bob so much in that at so many times during his life, personally and professionally, he had like the absolute most wonderful thing happening. And at the same time, his entire world was crashing down. And to be able to navigate that was just amazing, how he's able to balance those emotions. And like in chapter 6, when was it chapter 5? One of the chapters when he was told that he wasn't going to be promotable and that Michael was probably going to let him go, and he was told to leave. And just to be able to kind of step back and not react immediately. For me personally, that is always going to be part of my leadership journey, is because the way my emotions go is I'm pretty even keeled, pretty happy, pretty positive. But when someone pisses me off, man, it's like 0 to 100. So I've had to learn how to kind of step back a little bit and, you know, figure out what the basis is for, you know, whatever someone said that made me mad or, you know, I thought was ridiculous. So clearly right now, Jenna said, God bless America. I always say God bless America when, instead of cuss words, unless it's after 4 o'clock. But anyhow, I digress. Get loopy on day 43. So anyhow, that's part of what I have to deal with. And I've noticed though that in times of crisis, I'm able to kind of like get in and work the problem, and then afterwards is when, you know, you go behind closed doors and fall apart. And I think that it has been just some experience, because I was not 5 in 2004, whatever that was. But the other section that I really loved, going on the optimism, is in chapter 6, when Bob writes, optimism sets a different machine in motion, especially in difficult moments. The people you lead need to feel confident in your ability to focus on what matters and not to operate from a place of defensiveness and self-preservation. And just saying things will work out. You know, you need to have a plan. It's about believing you and the people around you can steer towards the best outcome, and not communicating the feeling that all is lost if things don't break your way. And then right after that, he goes in talking about Roy and the whole Save Disney campaign. And I was at the Disney stores when that was going around, and that was really tough because there was a lot of negative media, and a lot of guests would come in and say, you know, do you believe Roy, or do you believe Bob and Michael? So it was tricky, but it kind of, it made me think about what we're going to be heading into when we go back to work. I don't think any of us mind staying home. I think the problem with the challenge with the furlough is not knowing when we're going to go back. And when we do go back, you know that we are hemorrhaging millions of dollars daily as a company. And so for a long while, for, probably at least the next couple of years, is going to be a lot of changes that we're going to have to just ease into and accept as a way of making sure that our company stays healthy and recovers. And the part about how Roy wanted Disney to stay the way he thought Walt saw Disney. We're down at the bottom. We got these white plush Mickeys in at the Disney store, and Roy had a heart attack, and he says, no, they have to be, red, black, and yellow. I think that Disney, we definitely, while protecting our traditions and heritage, Disney is an emotion. So even if we change processes and change how we go about getting our day started, turning on the lights in the morning to turning them off at night, I think as long as we are giving our guests the same emotion that they are used to having, that it'll be a successful day. How that looks will be probably a little different. I mean, the people interaction is going to be the same, but the process throughout the day, it's going to be different. We're not going to let 60,000 people in the park, right? So I think it's going to be navigating that and just staying true to who we are as human beings, because as a team, man, I don't think anybody promotes the heritage better than this team and knows the nuts and bolts of what our guests really need from us and each other. So we will be successful, but we're all going to have to be vulnerable and go to each other and continue to, ask each other to hold each other up and be able to talk through things and not be afraid to show vulnerability to each other. But we'll get through it. So anyhow, that's me.
I definitely love the I've forgotten about the dolls, the white dolls, but that's
yeah,
such a moment where we, like you said, we're gonna have to accept some change, even if it's white dolls at this point.
Mm-hmm. This is a white doll moment.
It's a white doll
That's
moment.
what we'll call it.
Let's see, Jeanette, I have you as going next.
So first I have a question for Jessica. Does it matter which hand you use when you're signing?
No, so with sign language, you use your dominant hand. So if you're right-handed, most of your signs will be with your right hand, and your left hand is the supporting player. If you're left-handed, it's the opposite. So the hand that typically moves or does the main part of the sign is your dominant hand.
Okay.
So if you're left-handed, you would do the sign with your left hand. If you're right-handed, your right hand. Whichever hand is more comfortable to you, honestly, is fine.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be your dominant or non-dominant. That's just how it goes.
Thank you.
Great question.
What?
Great question.
I was watching her and I was trying to do it, and I'm like, am I doing this right? So you guys have covered a lot, and I appreciate all that, and I learned the same things, but there was something that struck me, and I tried to find it when he said that Michael wasn't a mentor to him, necessarily a good mentor, but he showed him a lot. And I think it's really important, and it has helped me a lot to learn, is to always listen to what people are saying, whether it has anything to do with you or not. Indirectly, in a theme park, everything has to do with us. And it could affect us one way or another. And it helps us think broader than what we're doing. But I think he did learn a lot by following him around and just paying attention to what was going on. And I think that was a really important notation that he said. He said a lot, and he has, obviously when you're reading the book, he has a lot of good leadership points, but that wasn't something I think he was saying as a leadership point. But as a leader, it's important to, when somebody's not helping you out, to help yourself out, to learn with them and lead yourself into what you need to know and what you need to do. I think that was a big takeaway for me when I read it, because it is a good point. You never know who you're going to work for or what they're going to teach you, and you never know where your learning's going to come from. So as a leader, and we want to grow and learn, that's where it happens. And then the other thing, and you guys have brought it up a little bit, was the part where he said that it's hard to balance. I don't remember the exact quote. you know, I've been asked a lot over the years about the best way to nurture ambition, both one's own and that of people you manage. And I think a lot of times we're always looking for that next step. What do we want to do next? What's happening next? And sometimes we see people turn their focus to do that thing and want to do that and start planning to do that, and then they lose focus on what the job is at hand. And we all have to learn to balance that a little bit, I think. Those are the two things that I took a lot away from these two chapters. And yes, I lived through all of it. I actually lived through Michael Eisner's entire career because I was there before him. So he was an interesting man. So that's what I got.
I gotta say, just for me, that really struck home, Jeanette. I really want to tell you, I appreciate hearing how, you know, not every leader is like our Teresa. And I've had experience with others that are not as focused on nurturing and mentoring. And sometimes you just gotta, like she said, do it on your own. And yeah, that struck home. Thank you so much for that. Next we have Judy.
So the biggest takeaway I got from chapter 5 was what I had to learn before I got promoted, which is not to think of my role as I'm the only one that is great at this role, and you know, no predecessor will be as great as I will. What I had to learn is, you know, have that in mind. Like, okay, yes, I'm a strong lead, but that should encourage me to nurture others so that they're great in their own right, so that if I'm no longer a lead, whatever that path may be, you know, there'll still be someone who takes over for me and is a great lead in their own right. And, you know, learning that and seeing it that way is a great leadership quality, I feel. And it was hard to hear when, you know, Michael Eisner didn't have that same leadership quality that Bob has. And it was frustrating, but at the same time, you know, I was kind of in the same boat and in the same thought process and belief when I was a lead. And before, like the last few years of my lead role, I learned that, like, I shouldn't see someone as someone that's trying to replace me, but someone that should be replacing me because I'm looking to another step in my career. So that's what I've had to learn, and I still feel I hold that in my mind and in my leadership style, which is, you know, I'm a good leader now, and I should be, you know, nurturing others to be great leaders in their own right, so that when I move somewhere else or I take my next step in my career, that there'll be someone just as great, if not, hopefully, I always hope now that whoever does replace me will be better, and not hope that they're not. For chapter 6, the takeaway, again, like everyone's mentioned, is the optimism and the pessimism. I do lean towards being a pessimist, and I label myself as a realist, but let's be real, sometimes realists can be pessimists. I'm still on the defensive and, you know, fear of failure side, but I try, and I'm still learning it as a leader, to not have those feelings when, you know, we're working together or when we're talking with our leads and coming up with new ideas. Even though I have my doubts, like, I have to learn, you know, let's go with it. If it's a success, great. If it's not, it's a learning opportunity. So let's look at the positive regardless of what the outcome was, whether it was negative or not. And hopefully, you know, I'm still trying to learn that as a leader, even though I may have pessimistic / realistic tendencies, that I don't transfer that feeling on to my leader, my coworkers, and my leads, so that everyone still feels like they have this ability to improve and have room and have the opportunity to grow without feeling like, oh, well, you know, if I tell Judy, she's gonna have this pessimistic view. So, you know, if I have to tell her, if I have to give her my idea, like, might as well just like not bother, because she's just gonna see the failure in it, you know? So that's, again, not, obviously, you know, have Michael Eisner having that thought process, it kind of took Disney in the way that it did in the early 2000s. And maybe if he wasn't so defensive and so much on, it's, the world against me. Maybe if he didn't have that thought process, Disney wouldn't have gone to the downward spiral that they kind of went through in the early 2000s, and having that positive outlook and giving that positive energy to your team is very important. So those are the two takeaways I had.
Yeah, I just want to say Judy and Vans are two of my mentors, and two of the things I appreciate about you guys is that you can always make sure to give me the realistic answer. So please don't think that that's always a bad thing. It's not always a bad thing to be a realist. It's a good thing to get the realistic answers. I'm the blue sky guy, as a lot of you know, and it's nice to have a realistic point of view, and so I appreciate that. With that, I'll go to you, Vans.
So like Patrick said, Judy and I tend to be realists, and I think we both see eye to eye on that whole negativity thing. The other thing that we both have learned, and she's already mentioned this, was, here's the quotes. Good leadership is not about being indispensable. It's about preparing leaders to step into your shoes. So as a lead and as a trainer and being in that role for as long as I have been, it's just a good reminder that teaching and learning doesn't stop just because training has stopped. It's a continuous thing. And it's okay to follow up with those people and continue to loop back and give them that feedback, that direct feedback that I have an abundance of. What else do I have? I feel like between Judy and Ted, you guys have covered pretty much everything that I had written down. Thanks, guys.
I'll call on you early. You'll be the first next week, okay? I'll write it down. Jenna, last but certainly not least.
Well, sorry for missing last week. I just totally didn't realize what day it was at all and didn't have my work phone to pay attention to it. But first of all, Judy, I want to say that I have absolutely seen bad ideas disguised as positivity. When someone wants to just say, but I want to try it and I want to do it, and myself included, I have absolutely done bad ideas because I'm a positive person. So I think it's really important to still have someone say, let me poke holes in your ideas and let's really examine it. And if you really can get to that point, then that's the time to look at it as positive and go forth with it. But I've seen way too many times where somebody's come up to someone and said, I have this idea, and you're thinking to yourself, I already know it's not going to work, it's not going to happen, but then they feel defeated. But in reality, they have to hear that too, and it's a balance between the two acts. This particular chapter I found fascinating because I did a lot of reading between the lines, because I was 15 in 2004, so I existed, I remember things, but I wasn't really involved in the business world of anything. So reading this chapter, I do remember hearing about this stuff in the news and hearing between Eisner and this and that. So I really found it fascinating to hear it from Iger's perspective of seeing the two difference between the two. But what I found even more fascinating is that I often agreed with Roy. As much as Iger was Eisner did amazing things for the company. You can't deny that. Like, everything in the 90s was fantastic and amazing. And he really boosted the value of the company by a lot. But I've also been to Disneyland Paris, and some of the stuff there was awful. It was super cheap, was not well done, didn't represent the company in any way, shape, or form. So I think one of the biggest things I took away from seeing the stuff from the past and seeing what I've seen in the parks and seeing what we do now with something like Cars Land and Galaxy's Edge, and how much detail and effort they're putting into it compared to some of the stuff they did in the 90s. I really think what the lesson that I learned out of the whole thing was I think this is really important to hear both sides of it. Yes, we do absolutely need white Mickey Mouses. We need to look into the future. What does it look like, years from now? But Roy also had some valid points about how the company was. And I think in reality, even though Iger was so one-sided I think he was trying to repair Eisner's reputation, which was well deserved. But in reality, even reading the book, like I still felt like he was one-sided and took a side. And to me, the better option would have been to listen to all sides. And I think they all could have, like, if Eisner was willing to listen to Roy, I think they actually could have done something pretty incredible. So that's what I got.
So can I say something though to all of you about that? I learned from a long time that just because somebody asks you a question about an idea doesn't mean they're telling you no. I mean, I've seen a lot of young leaders pull away when someone starts asking questions, and that's actually really good leadership. When somebody's trying to tell you, have you thought of everything? They're not necessarily saying no. If someone says no, then you know you're done. But if they start to ask you questions, it means they're engaged in the process and they want you to be the best version. They want you to execute the best version of it. And I think it's actually really helpful. So if you step outside of the defensiveness or the fear of somebody changing what your idea is and think about, you know, just have I thought of this and how, I mean, Jenna and I go back and forth with this a lot.
Yeah.
And I never say no, but I am like, have you thought of this and this and this?
But the thing is, I need that because you know me well enough to know I didn't think of that.
But, you know, I appreciate when someone does that for me. And I think it's for you. And we tend to think, oh, they don't like my idea, I'm done. No, it is for you. And we have to, I think that's the most important thing, is to step outside of our own fear of somebody getting in our own stuff.
That's a great point.
One of the things I've noticed is that the partnerships of leaders in the company have seemed to be more successful when it was an individual person. And that's kind of bouncing off of what you guys were saying, that it's good to have your optimistic person. It's good to have your realist. You kind of have to have both sides of that. And in the book, even the two partnerships that seemed to be the most successful was obviously Walt and his brother. And then also when Eisner was with, oh gosh, I can't remember his name. But when his partner,
Frank Wells.
when they were together, that was when it was the most successful. And then it's such a large company and there's so many parts. And I think if you're even, I forget who, but someone way at the beginning said, like, it's hard to do this job by yourself. You really need that support. And he knew he needed that support. So when you find those partnerships that really work, that's when magic is made. And that's when it seems to be the most successful. So I just wanted to put that thought in.
I think
Absolutely.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. And I think he didn't even really touch on it when Frank Wells passed away in that helicopter crash. That was a big downfall for the company, not just because he was our financier, but because he kept Michael level. And that's when Michael went off the rails, I think, a little bit. Living through that was hard.
Interesting.
Yeah, that was huge. Yeah, that was huge to Michael, because he was the person that would say the yays and the nays and showed the financial piece.